Anywhere you like. Yeah, not behind me. just not behind. Did any of you guys come last time or first time? Cool. All right. So we're just about to start. You didn't see anybody else like down there looking like they're about to come up, did you? Let's get to it. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. Today we're going to do British Sign Language in 90 minutes, in which we're going to work our way through the alphabet of British Sign Language. We're going to associate signs to different letters along the way, weave in key grammatical points along the way, and then have a basis to continue learning through practicing. So, let's start with the alphabet. The first thing we're going to do for the alphabet is learn 5 signs in about 5 seconds, which are the vowels. The vowels live on our left hand, A, E, I, O, U, and we get them by pointing at them. So that's 5 signs you've got already. A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U. So we're just going to have a quick run through the alphabet, and then we're going to come back and build on it. Just one quick run through, because I've got a lot to get through today. So after A, we have B. We can see that's visually motivated. No, that's kind of like a B. And then we have C, clearly visually motivated. D. And then what is E? E. We point to our second finger, that's our second vowel. All right, let's go on. F. That's F. So we have 2 fingers like that on top of each other, and then we get G. And then we get H, which is an interesting one, because it sounds like a H, but deaf people don't hear that. That's interesting. What comes after H? I. Good. And then J, we write it on our hands. We write a J like this. I'm doing it facing you so you can see it, but you can do it facing yourself. J. And then we have K, which you might see like this, or you might see it like that, actually kind of making more like a K. You get variations like this or like this. Bit of a weird one, isn't it? So dominant hand, straight finger, and then you can make the angle of the K, or you can just do that. Then the next 3, you know what, when I pause during the alphabet, I forget what letter comes next. After K, it's L, right? The next 3, you can see together very easily, L, M, N. So I don't think that needs much explanation, no. 1 line for L, 3 lines for M, 2 lines for N. And then what comes after N? O. Where's that? O. Good. And then P, looking like a P. Q is like a stylized, we do the hook there. So you got P and Q. P and Q. And then R, we make an R on our hand. For the S, again, it's like a stylized S, right? It's kind of hard to make an S shape with your hands, so we represent that there. T. Where's U? Good. Then we get V. Hand closed. V on the hand. So the fingers closed, I'm in. And then W. X, one of my favourites, Y. That's a cool one, isn't it? You got the Y shape there, and then Z. All right, cool. So we don't have to try to memorise any of that or worry about remembering it, because we're going to analyse now each letter and look at signs that look like it and that are related to it, and then we're going to have a massive base of useful signs and grammar to continue learning on the go. So, what was A? 2 A's give us April. Your mouth also April. Sorry, I had the hand closed. It should be open. Good. So most signs have a mouthed element in British Sign Language. And with the nouns, it's usually the word in English that is the mouthed element. The mouthed element might not necessarily be a word, but with nouns it tends to be. So that's one sign we get with our A. We can also get the sign for anniversary if we close this hand into a fist, but we're still contacting the A for anniversary, 2 little flicks like that, and we get the word for. And I should also say, actually, what you mouth is not necessarily the way a hearing person would say the word. It's more like anniversary. It's just like a simplified rather than anniversary. I did it 3 times, 2 times. All right. The word for when in British Sign Language is this, when. Now, British Sign Language, for some of you this will be really obvious and some of you it will be amazing news, it's not an invented language. Sign languages just happen when you get deaf kids and put them together. And that's how most sign language developed, like deaf children getting put into schools and then sign language is developing naturally. So British Sign Language is its own language and it has its own grammar. So part of that grammar is that question words, unlike in English, tend to come after what they're questioning. No? So if you're going to say, when is your anniversary, what you'll actually say is anniversary when. And you can leave it out because sign language is always trying to be efficient. So anything that's obvious, you can just leave it out. So how would we say, when is your anniversary? So that was English grammar. No, when anniversary. But more British Sign Language grammar would be? Good. Good. Anniversary when? And we could reply, in April. How is that? Good. Just 2 taps on the A. Good. Again, we don't have to say in. No. Sign language wants to be efficient. It's obvious that it's in April. You just say. And also we saw that, anniversary was enough for your anniversary. But if you want to show that you mean your anniversary, you will say anniversary you. So again, that's somewhere where the grammar is different. No, we're going to say anniversary you. So including that information, how would we say, when is your anniversary? So for one part, we have to remember the signs. For the other part, we have to think about the order. Good. And also we have question body language to accompany that. No? So there's different kinds of facial expressions you might make your question with. Generally, it goes depending how much information you want. So if you want more information, you're more likely to furrow your eyebrows, squint your eyes. And if you want less, you're more likely to open your eyes and raise your eyebrows. The word for birthday, I love this one, is born day. Okay, so you could say, when is your birthday? Don't be shy. Born day when? Birthday when? Good. April, of course. When else would it be? All right, good. Let's move on to the B. So that was A. What was B? B. So with B, we also get a couple of signs based off the B. For example, if we push it forward, we get billion. Yeah. We also get, wait for it, baked beans. So you'll often find brand names done in this way, with a doubling of the alphabet letter in some way. So you have baked beans as well. And the letters of the alphabet are often used as parts of signs by way of generating new signs. No? So for example, be life. What might that mean? It's going to be an English word beginning with B that has something to do with life. Be life. So, believe. Okay, that's very philosophical, because there is a connection there. I could talk about that for an hour. But a bit more technical. This is maybe a way we'll pull in more technical words often. Biology. Be life, biology. No. In a similar way, what might be book mean? I'm mouthing it. Bible. Good. So life can mean life, it can mean alive, and it can mean live, depending on what we mouth. It can be the adjective, it can be the noun, or it can be the verb. So we might ask, where do you live? This is where. But how about the word order? How are we going to say, where do you live? Well, we don't have to include you if it's obvious. So let's do it without you for now. Good, that's the important thing. The question word afterwards, no? So, and if we want to add you, here it's not possession, so you will go first. It's not your life. So, you live where? You should do it like this, but I think my brain is a bit, and I can't help but do that. Let's call it neurodiversity. Let's move on to C. What was C? Very visually generated sign. Good. A, B, C gives us the alphabet, so that we can use A, B, C, make it look like one integral sign, so you kind of sign it together quickly. A, B, C, that gives us alphabet. But the C shape is a very versatile sign, a prolific generator of words. For example, we get the sign for cousin, which we can get by making short taps here. Or, you know, you see variations as well, so you might see this as well. But in sign language, you should be focused, as a learner, you're going to be more focused on hands, but deaf people watch each other's mouths. The hands move in the periphery. So whether it's, or you're seeing cousin and a C, and that's enough in the context to understand what's happening. Where is your cousin? Good, good. All the right order. Cousin, if we're including you. Where? Good. Hello. To come is this. To come. Is your cousin coming? Is your cousin coming? Cousin coming, or if we include your, where does that come? If we want to say your cousin, after cousin. Good. Cousin you coming. Should we give that a try? Right. So the facial expressions I'm seeing, you all have varying feelings about this cousin. I don't know what he did to you. But so we want to see questioning faces, right? So generally with a yes-no question, we want less information, so we're just going to kind of like open our eyes and say, is your cousin coming? But, you know, that's always contextual. Maybe we want more information. We can always think of a context where there's more nuance to the question, right? And we might be like, is your cousin coming? But with a yes-no question like this, generally, cousin, you coming? What was the word for when? The sign for when? Good. So if we say, when is your cousin coming? Firstly, what's the word order? Forget the signs. Tell me the word order in English. That's part of the work that we're going to be doing now, to reorder the information. Cousin you, coming when? That sounds right. Good. All right. Let's give that a go. Good. Good. Cousin or cousin. I said coming. You would just say come, really. Or you'd mouth come. Detail. So, this is when, and if we move it to the nose, we get how old? Which is interesting, because your nose and your ears never stop growing as long as you live. Somebody knew that. So, when moved to the nose, again a question to do with time, like when has to do with time, that gives us how old. So you could now, I don't know why we're so interested in this person's cousin, how old is your cousin? Good. We can reply also with the age from the nose. So if somebody is 24, for example, you can include that information. So this would be 24, but to mean 24 years old, you can say 24. So sign language has this simultaneous elements. As it's a visual language, a lot of the time you can present information like at the same time. No? So 24 or 25. All right, so there are many words beginning C in English that we use the C in BSL for, like cousin, no. Comfortable also varies, but 2 taps on the chest is common. You might also snuggling with your shoulders, depending on the context of that comfortable. No. So you got, and again, it's not like comfortable, the syllables. No, it's more like comfortable. Confidence, also the C with a double tap on the chest, and you can show your confidence increasing and decreasing, which is interesting. So I went to a little BSL exchange like a couple of weeks ago, and I was really nervous. And the lady at the end went to me like, you got more confident as you went on. Didn't mean I was signing any better, but... and colour. Classroom. So, you know, you're not going to remember all these signs now. The idea is about understanding how they're built so that you can digest signs you come across so much more easily. No, because you might not have noticed that that was a C otherwise. No, when you look up the sign for classroom. Or course, like a course or a scheme. The C having a trajectory as well. College. Community, that's a nice one. So that's an individual, no? And that's the community. You can also have community centre, that's pretty literal. That's the centre. Middle finger, middle of the hand, community centre. So yeah, you get a lot with the C. Do you want some more with the C? Computer, circling inwards, small circling inwards. That's all right. Everyone was late today. Character or identity. No, the C, like marking. And you know, it's interesting. I observed this in other languages, that in all languages, people tend to do this when they say something like soul. It's really interesting. In different languages, people do that. And that's interesting. You've got character, identity, going that same part of the body. Carry on, just two C's moving forward, or maybe moving to the right. So when you have variations, you don't have to remember both. The point is just that there are variations. That's also another reason why we're focused on the mouth or the face generally, and all of this happens in the periphery. So continue, careful, the C's coming down from the eye and moving down. Careful. Coffee, well that might just be about holding the cup. You know, but who knows what the subconscious was doing when it was making that sign. It can be the C and the cup. Coke, again, brand name just like our baked beans. No, double C. Chocolate, so much with the C. So much we can do with the C. So like I said, we might not remember all of these signs, and you can rewatch this workshop that I'm going to upload this video. But that's not the point. No, the point is seeing ways that the signs can be built based around letters, and understanding that we can pick them up easier in context. Also, much like with spoken languages, remembering the first element of a sign can help you remember the rest of the sign. Just like in a spoken language, remembering a word begins with P will help you remember the rest of the word, like focusing on the first sound. So in sign language also, you know, if you remember that computer, continue, etc. starts with a C, and you begin with a C, it's more likely to come to you. We can also get new signs with abbreviations in BSL. I mentioned ABC, it can be like alphabet. ACC, so give me that. What's ACC going to look like? Good. And we tend to kind of sweep it and make it look like one sign when it's an abbreviation. So it depends on the hand shapes, but here, you know, ACC can mean accident or account. Can mean either. No? It would depend on what you're mouthing, of course, and the context. When was the accident? Was is past, but this can just be contextual in British Sign Language. And usually if you say, when was the accident? That's pretty obvious. You're not going to say, when will the accident be? No? So, when was the accident? Good. I'm seeing when's on the end. Are you guys not trying? Or you just got there first? You got... Accident, when? Accident, when? We're not going to ask anyone about their accounts. All right, so the C as a letter is taken advantage of in a massive way in signs from colour to coarse to continue. But not only that, this hand shape is also very prolific because it represents things that are held or shaped in this way. No, so say a ruler, that's a ruler. No, that's got nothing to do with the C, but noticing that you're making it with the C hands makes it more memorable. No, otherwise what stays in your mind is just like this kind of general blurry movement. No, so this helps us codify new signs that we come across. So after C, what did we have? What letter? D. Good. With a double tap of D, we get daughter or dad. With the D, we also get digital, which I think is pretty cool. I also had that kind of, like I kind of understand, but I don't understand what's going on there, right? It's like, yeah, binary something. Like, but dictionary, we start with a D, and we include all the words. So there we get dictionary. Do, you can just brush forward like that. So that's quite some useful signs, no? So now we're just going to see which of these signs we remember in sentences, and I want to show you that just putting your hand in the D position will help what we just did come back to you. So tell me again what was how old? Good. How old? Like when? On the nose. How old is your daughter? So firstly, all right, good, the word order, daughter first. And what was daughter? Double tap. Well done, I'm seeing lots of double taps. Well done. If we include your, and then? Very good. To have is, so do you have a dictionary? Just start with the D and see if you remember what dictionary is. Bravo, good. You have a dictionary. Continue also means still. So you can say, do you still do it? We'll just say, still do. So, still do. So continue also means still. Do you still do it? What comes first? So continue was? Good. That means still also. It also means still. So still and then do.
What was do?
What? Will we begin with a D and see if it comes to us? Good. A brush forward. So that's the first thing. We start with the letter. Just go, does it come? No? So, good. We don't need it either. No? That's something that's contextual. When we say it, we know what we're talking about. Let's move on to E. What was E? Good. Our second vowel. Our second vowel. For those that were late, we have our vowels here. A, E, I, O, U. Our second vowel, E. So when we make our vowels, we're actually using our pointing finger, of course, to point to the vowel on the non-dominant hand. The index is a very important hand shape in itself in British Sign Language, not least for pointing, which by itself already gives us lots of words. We've already seen it can indicate possession. No, it can also be you, he, she, they, if we sweep it. It can also be this and that. Not that much sweeping, by the way. I was repeating the movement. You only need to do the one. This and that. You know, so you could say, for example, that's life. People say that in British Sign Language, like in English and like in French, c'est la vie. So let's see if we remember life. But first let's, okay. We remember more or less. First let's do that. So what's that? That? Yeah. And also, if it's something we're referring to that's happened in the sign-in space, we will point to the space in the sign-in space when we say that. So if someone's telling you about something that happened and visually it's represented over here, you'd say that's, and what was life? With the middle finger, good, life. Like in B life, which was biology, good. So that's life, c'est la vie. The sign for what is this. So if you think about it, this is actually just like pointing, but we don't know what we're pointing at. No? So like this, that. In the same way in English, this, that, and what are related words. We just change the T of that to a W, like we do here, and we add a W and we get where. That becomes what. So we see a similar connection then in sign language. This, that, what. Let's get philosophical. What is life? What is life? Good. Life what? Good. Life what? But in British Sign Language, you might also use what in an exclamatory way as well. So you might say like, what a life, what a life. In that case, we're not questioning, are we? So how about the word order there? What a life. Good, just like English. And we will show a different expression now. No, we're not saying like, life, what is life? We're saying, what a life, what a life. We might even blow our cheeks out. No? What a life. All right. Apart from what, with this pointing hand shape, we also get why. The same pointing hand that we're using with our vowels, no? I'm getting why there. So you might say, you live there, why? Now, before we begin, British Sign Language is a visual language, and so it has a visual word order. Some spoken languages have visual word orders as well, putting more visual things first, like Japanese or Turkish, for example, is the same. So something like there is part of the scene setting, it's part of the background. So it's one of those things that go first, even though we don't see it. No? So another way you can think about it is if you were painting a painting, what would you paint first? Well, those existential elements of the background, the time of day, all of that, that'd go first. No? It's the same in British Sign Language. So when you say, you live there, why? You're going to say, there you live, why? So there, you live, and why? Good. We remember it starts with here, this, and what does this do to give why? Good. Why do you live there? Are you mad? Another very useful sign we get with the pointing finger is but, which is quite an intuitive sign. But. So you could say, my cousin is not coming, but my daughter is coming. Now, for not coming, we just make negative non-manual features. No? So we shake our head, no, and come becomes not come. So the first bit of that sentence was, my cousin is not coming. Back to the cousin. So, what was that? Or cousin, either way. That was nice. Give me that. Good. But, who's coming? My daughter is coming. So, now, this is interesting, because I already see some of you are still shaking your heads. Now, that's something we tend to do in English sometimes. We let our negation overrun a little bit. No, but in British Sign Language, we're going to say the negative part with the negative, and then the positive part with the positive body language. No? So when we say, my daughter is coming, we're going to be nodding there. No? So, good. Daughter. Good. So the pointing fist that we use in the vowels is a very prolific hand shape in British Sign Language. Sometimes relating to the act of pointing, like in here, there, this and that, and sometimes not. This hand shape is, in fact, one of just 4 that accounts for around half of British Sign Language signs on the dominant hand. We'll see them all today, of course. Let's move on to F. So after E, we had F, which was, these are our F hands, good, and that's F, F. So we got dad, or daddy, no, but with the D, but it's most common to say father, no, in British Sign Language, so father, which we build with an F, 2 taps. No, so 2 taps or 2 reproductions of the letter is kind of a pattern we're seeing for family members. No, we've seen that. Cousin, dad, daughter, father. We also get the sign for free, as in free of charge. Here, the dominant hand brushes twice forward. No, but we've got the F still. So F for free, and then we brush forward twice, free. No? So you could say, is it free? This is generally a yes-no question, so we can have open questioning features. So is it free? You just need free and the question face. No? And if you want to refer to something specifically, it's in the sign-in space, you can point at it. Good. We also get the month for February. This isn't produced like April, which was a double tap on the A. For February, we will just say FEB. And now we know FEB, so what's February? So the double tap for F is just to get a word from F. Otherwise, it's just F. So, well, not a word, specifically father. No. But otherwise, it's F, E, B. No, and you can, and like I say, you see it gets stylized so it looks more like one word. So you might also just like FB, FE, like FE, and like you barely see the E, you know, but the F and the B, you will definitely get it. And the mouthing. We also get Friday, the sign for Friday from our F. Again, a double tap or circling the dominant hand. So the dominant hand on the non-dominant hand, we can get Friday. No, but some people might do that with a double tap. Again, it's not going to matter because you're going to see. And it's going to be contextual as well. If we circle both hands, we get family. No? Again, related to F, family. So now you can say, on Friday, my family is coming. Here we have the same word order as British Sign Language, because Friday is kind of scene setting. Then we have like the people, and then which are more visual, something we see, and the verb. So Friday, my family is coming. Friday or Friday, and then my family, or just family if it's obvious you mean your family, and then coming. Good. So after F, we get G. No? Again, it's kind of visually motivated, especially if you think of kind of like the typed G. No? Looks like that. And the G gives us many new related words. In fact, the double tap G in itself gives us government, guilty, green. Although I should mention that colours vary a lot in British Sign Language dialects. We also get garage. Like, who chooses this? Game or games. And ginger. All right. So we get all of that just with the double tap of the G. And the sign for car is, and then the sign for drive can be also that, or moving them forward. And again, we have the G hands. So even though that has nothing to do with G, we want to notice that we're using the G hands there. It will help us internalize the sign. So you might ask where the car is. Good. Car. Good. And you might respond, in the garage. Yeah, you don't have to say in. It's pretty obvious. Good. We can add to the double tapped G to get more words. So, for example, I like this one. This is garlic. What do you reckon that's representing? Yeah, the smell.
Does it need to be like here, at this level?
Yeah. So and it comes backwards and forwards as well. Huh? What do you reckon this might mean? It's going to begin with G, of course, right? I didn't plan to ask you guys what you thought that would mean. It's not obvious at all. It's not obvious. Well, it is once I tell you. Germs. Not very. It's obvious afterwards, right? Always obvious afterwards. For the sign for want is this, and the sign for like is this. So want and like, and the reason I'm teaching you those two together is because I find it interesting that they relate to the third chakra. I know, don't. Anyone know anything about chakras? I'm not one of these people, and no offense if you are, that gets attracted to things and just believes in them. But like, I really physically feel them. So like, when I heard about them, I was like, oh wow, what's that? And I start noticing how they relate to languages and stuff. So this is the chakra all about like wanting and what you want to attract, what you like. It's interesting that British Sign Language builds these signs on that chakra. That's interesting. Want, like. Do you like garlic? What's going to come first? Garlic. Good, the visual element. And open eyebrows, open eyes, because it's pretty much a yes-no answer. We don't want a lot of information. We don't want a lot of elaboration. No? So, good. Ginger means both the hair colour and the ingredient. So, do you like ginger? Good. And don't be shy to engage your faces. It's very important. No? Otherwise it might just look like you're making a comment about someone liking ginger. If it's not clear that it's a question. No? Might be like, he likes ginger. Oh, right? So we need... Good. GF or GFF gives us grandfather. We can have GF or GFF. You see there's that repetition of family members that we saw with the letters that kind of like will carry through there, or it might not because it's a bit of a, well, I would say a mouthful, handful. GF or GFF for grandfather, so we get that as well. We could say, when is your grandfather coming? So let's think it through. When is your grandfather coming? What's the word order? Good. Was it when? I did say when. Good. Come in. When? So now it's when. You might squint and put your eyes, or you might do it. It just depends on the context, how much information you want there. Good. Bearing in mind how we made the sign for biology, bee life, what might this mean? Geography. Hey, geography. Good. And we'd mouth it something probably like Joffy, rather than geography, right? So, do you like geography? Good. Do you like geography? Guarantee. We also get guarantee with our G, or we might see 3 syllables here because guarantee has 3 syllables. But like I said, these are small variations. So you get a lot with the G. You get a lot with the G. This is another of my favourites. Gold. G shiny. Gold. We can get grey. No? Grey as well. So loads we can do with our G. Loads we can do with our G. We also get another sign for do with our G. So we saw this for do, but for do or make, so also make, for G we can do this sweeping movement down, which kind of like represents toiling or something, no? So of course, again, that has nothing to do with the G, no? The fact that we do that, that's like a movement of working, or, you know, working away, but just noticing that we have the G hands there, no, with do or make will help us remember the word, and we've put that into this mental dictionary that we're forming based around the letters of the alphabet. I don't know is, so we need this negative, no, like we had with come in, not coming, don't know. Don't know. And if we really don't know, we might puff our cheeks out and blow air out even, no? Deaf people are very expressive, no? So you shouldn't feel shy about using your body to express yourself. And if you don't, it really feels like you're holding something back, no? So you could say, for example, I don't know if she likes garlic. For if, what was F? For if, we can do like this. It's like a stylized spelling of the if. We know that's not I, right? That's I. But it kind of looks like I. So it's a bit stylized. I don't know if she likes garlic. So the first bit is I don't know. If she likes garlic, what order is that coming in? Garlic first. No, we tend to have the more visual elements first. No, when we after not in the whole clause, right? But in that part, when we get there, you can say garlic. She likes. So good. I don't know if she likes garlic. And I didn't point to she, we just assume we know who we're talking about, but of course we can point to wherever she is physically or wherever she is in the sign-in space. So after G we had H, which sounded like a H. Good. First of all, the H by itself means clean. Nothing to do with the H, no. This reminds me of the saying in English, squeaky clean, for some reason. Is the car clean? Good. Good. Do it again. So do the H, because that then looks like a different sign, right? So the H is going to go, brilliant, across your hand. All right, so is the car clean? So if geography was, what might H past be? History. Good. And what might CH? Chemistry. Sorry, I did that wrong. Like that. Good. Chemistry. CH with some test tube pouring. Chemistry. Not sexual chemistry, of course. That would be a wildly dry way to describe that, wouldn't it? Do you have chemistry? Can you imagine going like... Not the one. So we'll also begin to get a feel for the types of words, no, that we can maybe use letters to build. No, we're seeing like we get like technical and academic terms. No, we've seen quite a bit of that. So for example, this here means emotion, emotional, feelings. What might H emotional mean? What are H feelings? Hormonal? Yes. Hormonal. Isn't that brilliant? H feels hormonal. So we've now seen actually all 4 hand shapes that I mentioned that on the dominant hand are used in 50% of signs. No? So that's pointing, which is also number 1, by the way. That can be 1. But pointing, the index, the fist, as we have in G, the flat hand, as we have in H, and the open hand, as we have in number 5, or as we have in feeling. No? So between these 4 hand shapes, on the dominant hand, they account for around half of British Sign Language signs. So that's something to pay attention to tune into. So, of course, for that reason, the H hand is also very prolific and will be used in a great many signs that have nothing to do with H, no. And sometimes we won't really know where the sign comes from. So, like, for example, we have a few signs for hospital, 2 of which are this and this. So, bandaging and people getting pushed around on trolleys, right? But is that also somehow inspired by the H? It's a hard thing to get to the bottom of. We don't need to get to the bottom of it. We just need to think about it. So by the way, this method is called the thinking method, right? So I'm trying to get you thinking as much as you can, because that's what makes you learn a language from an introduction in a language. No, you do a base that allows you to think, and then from exposure, the more you think about the language that you expose yourself to, that's the quickest way to fluency, no? So we want to be thinking about this. We don't have to decide whether H actually has something to do with what's going on there in hospital. I don't know where the hospital is. Let's think about the word order. So, sorry? So, because we have 2 parts of this clause, we have some more flexibility now. We could say, hospital where, I don't know. We could say, I don't know, hospital where. Either I find the important thing is hospital where, right? Where coming afterwards. So, let's go for it. I don't know where the hospital is. So let's uniformalize it. Let's do the I don't know first. So I don't know first is, and then where the hospital is, it's just hospital or hospital. Where? Look how busy our H hands are, no? All right, very good. So give me again, everybody, I don't know. So most signs you can just make negative by adding negative features, like shaking your head. But some signs are different in positive and negative, and that's especially true of very common signs. So I don't know is that, but I do know is, so that's I do know. Thumb up to you tap your forehead. So that's I do know. No. So, all right, give me the sign. The sign for want. What was the sign for want? Good. That's our third chakra sending its energy out into the world of what it wants. Also the color green, if you're interested. Not the sign, I mean the chakra, never mind, sorry. I want, right? And then, so I don't want has a slightly different negative. We really reject when we don't want. So that's slightly different. It's not just, no, we might, turn our head away and reject it. No? So that's I don't want. How might you say I don't want to know? Good. I don't want to know. So related signs to our alphabet, we can think in terms of signs that incorporate the letter somehow. No, for example, history, H past or hormonal, and then signs that use both letter hands but don't have anything to do with the letter. So like clean, no, or hospital, it might or might not have something to do with the letters. And then signs that just use the dominant hand of the letter. No, in this case, please and thank you. Both signs are using the flat hand, the H hand. So when we come across signs, that's how we're going to try and internalize them. Are you based around some letter? Are you just using the letter's hands, or are you just using the dominant hand of the letter? So for example, that's work. H hands, no? But nothing to do with H. It's also the word for job. How would you say, what is your job? Good. What was, we don't know what we're pointing at. Or how would you say, where do you work? But now you would mouth work rather than job. No? Or, so that's work where, or job what? Or you could say work what as well, right? Okay. Busy is similar to work, and it is in English as well if you think about it, because busy is related to business, no? So in the same way we get work, in British Sign Language we get busy, no? So again, working out that connection to work makes this more memorable, no? So that's what we want to get in the habit of doing, trying to figure out the connections and the origin of every sign we come across. And even if we don't get anywhere thinking about it, just thinking about it makes the sign more memorable. How do you say, I'm busy on Friday? Good, I'm seeing some of you put Friday first. That was good. That's scene setting, Friday. So, or... Good, brilliant. The sign for internet is... Why do you think it's the middle finger that we're using? I. Or it could just be because it's in the middle and inter means, but who knows? But just thinking about it, you're not going to forget what finger that is. Internet, good. Have was that, so we can say, do you have internet? To know was good. To know uses the thumbs up on the dominant hand. That's also a very common sign No. Another common hand shape that we'll see in a lot of signs. Another sign that uses it is use. Use. So you can say, does it use internet? So maybe we're pointing at that thing, right? We're going to say, does it use internet? Good. Internet first, you did. Good. It, internet use. So I was imagining, like, what is that weird thing? Does it use internet? So I'm squinting a little bit, right? But if you just want a simple yes-no answer, wider face. No? Good. Can is like this. So that's very important, just like want is very important. Now, these are verbs that we use a lot when we're speaking. Want, like, can. So you can say, can I use the internet? Internet can use. Good. So we saw this for if, by the way. I should also mention that if can just be spelt, so you can just do if. No, you might see that as well. The sign for other or else is this. We are brushing the back of the I finger. Nothing to do with the letter I, but just noticing that we're using our I hands. No, both hands. What we're doing here, what we're doing here for this sign, will make the sign another, other, else more memorable. So you could say, can I have another? Can I have another? How would you do that? Another, which is the physical thing, the visual thing. Another, can I have? Or not, I'm saying the English, right, but you're not going to be mouthing that. What you'll be mouthing is just can have. No? So, if you mouth it. All right, J. Let's go on to J. I'm going really slowly. I need to speed up. Hold on. Time to sweat. Right. So we have J, which is not used in many signs because it's quite an odd sign as well. But we get it in juice, or in a variation of juice. We have J and then this again. So this, we saw it before, didn't we? When did we see that before? Garlic, where it will smell. What do you think it is now? Liquid. Good. J liquid, juice. No? You can say, I can make juice if you want. I can make juice if you want. We can say that. But first we're going to think of the word order. Juice. I can make. So, juice. I can. What was make? Good. If you want. If, or just spelling if. And that if you want, you don't even really have to sign it. You can show that in your face. No, you can just say, I can make juice. Right? And that would mean if you want. No? It'd be maybe a bit more like translating English to say if you want. So the J being quite an odd sign, like I said, it's not very typical of BSL. It isn't used in many signs. But it is used in some abbreviations like July and June, like JUL, JUN. But we can relate it to some signs. For example, the sign for cancel or ban, and also vote or ballot, is this. So that's a cross, but it's a cursive cross. Which, like, yeah, it's really confusing, right? You're like, oh, what's he doing? But if you think about it like a J, it begins like a J, but crosses itself. No? So it's not like our big J, it's just like a little cross here. But I like to think about that as a J. No? We're making a J, but it just continues and crosses itself. That's a cursive cross. No? And that gives us, like I said, vote, cancel, ballot. They're not coming because the anniversary party is cancelled. What was anniversary? Anniversary, what was it? Good. We had like that kind of related to the A. And if we want to say anniversary party, we can just do Anniversary party. All right, so they're not coming. They're not coming. How's that? Not coming. And if we point at them, we'll do a sweep for plural. They're not coming. Because was the same as why, like in Greek and Spanish and lots of other languages that do that. So that was why. You can also use that for because. Because. You could also see that for because. I like that. It kind of shows the kind of cause and consequence kind of. Because the anniversary party is cancelled. So, what was that? Anniversary party? And cancelled? Good. Good. Also, British Sign Language poses itself a lot of rhetorical questions you will notice in the structure of the conversation. So rather than using because, you might actually see why. So, like, they're not coming. Why? Because it's cancelled, or just it's cancelled, or... all right, I better hurry up. All right, let's get to K. What was K? A little bit of an odd one. Yeah, that was K. Like that, or like that. You get variations, but that's a bit uncomfortable, isn't it? So that's why you get a lot of that. So that or that is K. Again, a bit of an odd one, like J, so it's not really used in many signs, but we do get it, for example, for kitchen, which is pretty useful, with a double tap. Kitchen, kitchen. So you can say, is the kitchen clean? Good. Or was the kitchen clean? That could just be the context. Or you can do that to show that you mean past after past. So you could say kitchen, clean, past. Or also this sign is used a lot, which means been or finished. You say kitchen clean and give that sign for finished at the end. That's if you need to show that it's the past and the context isn't there. Let's move on to L. What was L? Good. L, we've seen this before in chemistry. L, pouring, what might that mean? Liquid. Good, good. So the L hand, we can differentiate from our A hands, no, because our A hands, the non-dominant handle's open. For L, it's closed, no? So we have L. BL, give me BL. BL. BL means Bristol. But people in sign language also use this for Bristol. Well, close enough. Because the mouthing of pistol is so similar to Bristol, it's like a cool pun, right? So deaf humour is there's a lot of deaf humour based around puns, no? So one way you can have a pun is mouthing looking like something else. So instead of BL, you might see the pistol sign. But funnily enough, the pistol actually looks like an L, no? And whilst not used in finger spelling, we do use what we can call this alternative L to build some signs, no? So for example, Liverpool. So this is like a big L, no, not the L we use when we spell, but it's like an alternative L used in some signs like Liverpool. Also, lesbian, same sign, which actually can be in the air or on the hand. Hello? Oh, you're very late. Which is derived from gay, by the way. That's gay. Again, don't ask me why. I don't know if it's like it's okay to be gay kind of thing. But you take the L out, and then you get lesbian. So you can see how that was derived as well. The sign for luck, also. No? The alternative L, index on the nose, moving down to palm down. No? So although, whilst that's not our L, we have that alternative L, which is also like our pistol from Bristol. So look out for that alternative L in signs that have something to do with that. I also saw cool once done like that, like C-O-O, again like an alternative O, C-O-O-L. Cool. All right, M. L, M, good. 3 letters, 3 lines on the hand there representing the M. Where shall we begin? Marmalade and Marmite. Marmalade. Marmite, double M, because it's a brand. We see that brands do that a lot. No, they double the letter, and then we just do the spread again. So that's Marmite. Or just marmalade. What was the word for use with the thumb up? Good, we had 2 little downward sweeps on the chin for use. This also means prefer. So you can say, do you prefer Marmite or marmalade? What comes first? So you thought of prefer first, of course, but then you have to remember, no, British Sign Language has its own grammar. And we don't know or. So or can just be. But generally, because you're working with space, you just show it in the space, right? So you can be like, yeah, exactly, exactly. This is which. Which. Good. No? So you can say marmalade, marmite, prefer which. Good. What else do we get with our M? We get month with 1 M as well. With 2 M's, we get Monday, we get mother, minutes and meters. What do you think we get when we put M and F together? Or MMF or MFF? It can be either or just MF. We see we want the double in there. But what do you think that means?
Are we allowed to swear?
Huh?
Are we allowed to swear? Doesn't mean
No? Oh, all right. I would have thought that as well. Parents. Parents. Mother and father. Right? Mother, father. GM, what do you reckon that means? Or GMM? So when you see that repetition, it's probably a family, it could be a family member. GMM? Grandmother. Good. What does your grandmother prefer? Before we get to signing, we want to think about the order. What's the sign order? So what does your grandmother prefer? So we don't double both, by the way. We would do GM or GMM. GMM? Grandmother prefer what? Or which, I saw someone do, which if there's 2, right? Okay. N, so we had L, M, and then N, 2 lines, no? So those 3, we can think of them together, L, M, N. So that's N. With 2 N's, we get nephew or niece, no? Depending on what we're mouthing, of course. Or nana, we can get as well. We can also, with 2 N's, get natural. We can get north, we can get nature, we can get normal. You might see a double tap or a double brush, but it's not going to matter if you're focused where you should be, no, around the face. Do you like nature? Word order, before we get to signs. What is the word order? Good. Good. Newcastle. I've included this because it's kind of interesting because when you go from C, it's NC, but when you go from N to C, you keep your N hands. Interesting detail because that's what helps make it NC become 1 sign. So we know C is usually like that. No, but with Newcastle, it's like that. You keep your N hands. Newcastle. Taking notes. No? So again, we have N for notes, and then we make a pen and paper out of N, and we get notes. No? So did you take notes? It's just that with a question face, isn't it? This is a yes, no answer. So if we just want a yes, no, answer, what is the facial expression? Good. Open eyes, wide eyebrows. But if we want more of an explanation, did you take notes? Tell me about it. What did you write down? Then what's the facial expression? Good. Eyebrows furrow, we might squint a little bit. No? Good. So we might lean in more. The dominant end hand, twisting to palm forward from head height, like this, is used in a very important sign, which is name. Name. So if you want to say, what's your name in sign language? Name. Name. What? Name what? Good. Or name you what? No? You might also see what's your name in that English order as well in more formal contexts. Because in the same way, like in English, we tend to speak a bit more Latin when we want to be formal, right? We use these longer words that came in from French, whether we're aware of it or not. In British Sign Language, they also use a bit more English grammar when they want to be formal. So maybe in a formal setting, what's your name? You might actually see, you know, what's your name or what name you, or some blend of that grammar. That doesn't mean you haven't understood where question words need to go. So, what's your name? Name you what? And you can spell your names if they contain letters up to N. Not sure if you remember the other ones. But yeah. And just to mention, you know, people have their name, you know, that's like on their ID that they spell. But deaf people also have a signed name. And if you have deaf friends, they will give you a signed name. And this is a kind of famous thing, and people love to have signed names, and sometimes they ask for them. But I'd say never ask for a signed name. Just wait for it to happen. Because it's really funny when it just happens. Do you know what I mean? So you can spell your name, and then at one point, there's going to be a consensus on how you should be represented for a sign. Don't be offended. Enjoy. So we can also have to enroll, by the way, if we get the name down on a piece of paper. Enroll, put your name down. And also something very important that we do with this hand is say deaf. So when we block the ear with the N, that's deaf. No? So you can ask if somebody is deaf. How would you do that? No? Open features, because we're probably not like asking yet, how did you get deaf and what have you? We're just asking, right, are you deaf? So, short answer. And then if you want to say like, no, I'm hearing, instead of 2 fingers, you have 1 finger. Right. So now we're going to say, no, I'm not deaf, I'm hearing. But we want to be negative and positive on the right parts. Otherwise, we're going to be really confusing. If we go negative the whole way through, we're going to say, I'm not deaf and I'm not hearing. All right, so first bit, I'm not deaf. So I'm not deaf, I'm hearing. All right, good. What was O? O, good, our 4th vowel. No, so we don't really use that in a lot of signs, but again, we do have an alternative O. No, so like this that looks like an O, we won't use it when we're spelling, we don't use it when we're spelling, but we might have something to do with O coming through in signs. So, for example, office. You know, that's our alternative O. So, office. And also to O. To O. So, verbs like to O are actually what we call directional verbs. That means we can include more information in the way that we move them. So, for example, I owe him will show that who owes who in the movement. No, if you owe me, you owe me. No, if I owe you, if I owe him, or if he owes me. So not all verbs have that ability in British Sign Language. Another one that does is to ask, which also uses our alternative O. It comes from the mouth. Now, no? To ask. So again, that's a directional verb. We can include the information who's asking who. We can include that in the sign. We don't have to do pointing. No, we don't have to say, no, I ask him, you know, if he's there, of course. So again, that has nothing to do with the O, but it helps us remember it, that it's part of our alternative O. It could also be the mouth shape, because when you make a question word with W, you make a O, like a round shape on your mouth. So that could also represent that. No? We don't know, but that's to ask. Just one more I wanted to tell you with this alternative O. And again, it's just the hand shape. It's not the actual O, but it's a way of us to think about the hand shape, alternative O, is that this sign is the sign for both politics and puppet. Thank you. I've been making that point for a while. All right, P. Let's move on to number P. Let's do it. Number P. What's the letter P? Good. P. So this gives us pence or penny. No, also. If we flick from the P a couple of times, we can get a sign for purple. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of variation in colours. That's one sign for purple. Also a sign for paper and plastic. Purple, paper, plastic. A sign for physics. P plus, which is like the interaction of forces, I guess. No? P, physics. So now we can talk about chemistry, biology, and physics in sign language. No? Chemistry, biology, B, life, P, whatever that is, physics. P and J together gives us project, like projects, or pajamas. What's PJ? Good. Where are my pajamas? I'm hoping your integration in the deaf community is going to go very well. P, pajama wear. I like comfortable pajamas. So what we know, of course, I'm asking you for comfortable, you know it starts with? Right. Does that help you if you do that and you think of, good, it came to you. Double tap, you might move your shoulders there, depending on the context. So I like comfortable pajamas. Now, in British Sign Language, much like a lot of European languages, you will say pajamas comfortable rather than comfortable pajamas. So our word order here, pajamas comfortable I like. Good. Q. So this was P, no? And then for Q we had, good. For qualified, qualification, we can just tap twice on our Q. So that gives us qualified, qualification. For quality, we can do a short movement down. Quality. Is it good quality? Quality good? Good is just with one or two. No? So is the quality good? Good. Forward movement. Good. Is the quality good? I want a guarantee. Good. I want to inquire about the quality and the guarantee. About is this. What are these hands? What are these hands? What letter are these hands? These would be A. L. Good. L. So when we learn this sign about, that's how we want to interiorize it. Is it using the same hands as some letter? Oh yeah, those are the L hands. Okay, about. So what was this mad sentence? I want to inquire. I want to inquire is the first bit. So I want, coming from our third chakra. I want, good. To inquire, to ask about. Good. We also might notice that we have the round about movement there, helping us interiorize that sign. About the quality and the guarantee. We don't actually have a sign for and. We just place it, or have a shift in body language or in the face to show it. So, I want to inquire. The quality. Good. Start with a Q, and it looks like most of you remembered that quality is a pull down on the Q. So we might put quality here, and then guarantee here. So with our body, we're showing for one part the quality, for the other part the guarantee. No? R. R was? R. So we've seen some directional verbs now, like O and ask, but like I mentioned, not all verbs have this ability to include the information within the verb sign. So, for example, recommend, which is clearly based on the R, is that. Now, this forward movement is a necessary element of that sign. No, it's a non-negotiable element of that sign. That means that recommend is not directional. It means if you want to say, I recommend to you, it's either contextual, you just know, or you do it with the pointing. No? So if you want to say, for example, he or she recommends to me, how do you do that? Again? Good. Because the first time I think I saw you do that, right? Which would be as if it was directional. But this is not a directional sign. So you have to say she, recommend. Okay? So you will need to divide these verbs in British Sign Language into directional and non-directional verbs. No? And get used to including or not including more information in them. I can, does anybody remember I can? Oh, good. Like this coming down from by the nose, can. So like I mentioned, generally we just negate verbs with non-manual features, but with very common verbs, we tend to have a different negative. So we do, for can't is like this. So again, it's a bit like our J, like we start with a J, drawing a J, but we just cross it over. That's a cursive cross. No? So that's can't, and we'll be shaking our head as well. No? So, I can't recommend it. I can't recommend that it there can be imagined. Rely or rely on is also non-directional. We get our R here, no? Just like we have our R. But now it's doing this, no? Which of course is also quite literal, rely, depend, hang, no? So it's probably coming from that, but we can relate R, rely, no? I can't rely on her, we're going to have to point to her, no? Because this is non-directional. This movement is a key part of the sign, we're not going to be like... All right, so I can't be expressive, show on your face what you feel about the fact that you can't rely on her, because you can't do that with your tone. We do so much with our tone in spoken language, and everything you would otherwise be doing with your tone, it can't just be like reverberating in your mind in sounds. You need to show that through your body, which takes some getting used to. All right, let's move on to S. So that was R, and then S was good. So S gives us S for step with family members. So what is this? Stepmother. Good. This? Stepfather. Good. SFF, by the way, in another context might mean staff. It can mean staff. SFF. How many was like when and how old. You do it in the air. How many? With one hand or two, depending on what hand you got free. How many staff do you have? So word order first. Good. Staff. That's the question word, isn't it? So it's staff have how many? No? So staff have. Good. Brilliant. Double S also gives us September. So we see with months, it depends on the month, how we make the sign. No, for April, we got 2 taps on the A. For September, 2 taps on the S. But then other months, we might abbreviate. Speaking of abbreviations, now that we have S, we get second or seconds. S-E-C, S-E-C, sec. SJ gives us subject. SJ. What was prefer? Same as use? Prefer or use, the same. That also means favourite. Favourite. So you could say, what is your favourite subject? Before we get to side in, what is the word order? It's the first thing we want to think about, the word order. Good. So what is your favourite subject? SJ. Good. So subject. Subject, favourite, what is what we mouth in. Good. Gold, we saw, was based on the G, no? What do you think this means? Silver, shiny S. S, shiny. Do you prefer gold or silver? Everyone's thinking, how do I reply? I'm not an idiot. Do you prefer gold or silver? So, or which? Which? No? So we don't have the or. I mean, we can say no, but usually we might just put it in a different, in the sign space. So, good. I recommend the silver car. Car silver, no, the adjective comes afterwards. Car silver, I recommend. Recommend? Good, well done. All right, T, on to T. That's your T, no? With TH, we get Thursday. TH. By the way, there's a variation, you might also see that. But TH, Thursday. Double T, Tuesday, or toilet. I've got a little joke here for that. Where's Dave? He went to the toilet on Tuesday. All right, so remember before I mentioned like the pistol thing with the puns? So that's a pun on the mouthing between pistol and Bristol being similar. But you might also make a pun on the fact that the sign is similar, no? So maybe Dave's been in the toilet a long time, you know, and you say, like, this is my attempt at deaf humour. I'm not sure like how it would go down. But you might be like, where's Dave? In the toilet. Went on Tuesday. Anyway, so Tuesday in toilet you get with a double T. All right, you. If we turn the hand into a fist, we get a sign for uncle. This is a weird one. You get some like circular brushing on the tip of the U. So that would usually be you, no? But with the hand closed, that's one sign for uncle. Also with the pinky fist, until. So again, I'm not really sure if these have any relation with the U. It's probably just relation with the last finger, until, no? But relating it to the U helps us remember what's going on there. And I'll take this opportunity. I'm running over a bit, but do people mind if we're a bit late today? Like 10, 15 minutes? All right. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that the little finger on the dominant hand generally has a lot of association with signs that are negative, which is interesting, right? Because the thumbs up is positive, that's good, thumbs up. And then pinky down is bad or awful, no? And you'll see this in other signs as well. The pinky, not always, but recurring to describe something negative. So for example, to feel ill or sick or to feel bad, two pinkies down the chest. We've already seen the feels, no, like that. Now with the pinkies, that's feel bad. Or if we do it slowly and do this, we can like express that we're exhausted, you know. Or acid or sour, which, okay, we might have learned to enjoy acid and sour flavours, but generally, I don't think they were like appreciated, no, culinarily. So that's a bad. Acid or sour, acidic. All right, to swear or to curse, no, that means to speak badly. Any Spanish speakers here, by any chance? Because in Spanish this is maldecir, literally to bad say, no? That's what we do in BSL with our little fingers, no? So to swear or to curse, we have the little finger, short outward movement coming from the mouth. We can be pressing the lips also to show that negativity, or we might actually just be saying the word. Criticize, again with the little fingers, alternative circling little fingers towards the object, so this is directional. No, I criticize you, you criticize me, I criticize you all, you're all criticizing me, right? This is a directional sign, we can show that information in the sign. Blame. No, just moving the little fingers at somebody. So again, noticing that little finger will come in many signs that have something negative going on will help you internalize that sign. Also, what's the matter, by the way? What's the matter? What's wrong? All right, on to V. What was V? V. Flat hand, V. So now that we have V, we have TV. TV, TV, that can also be TV, but that's very common, TV, TV, we have our CV, CV, two V's give us vodka, and vegetarian. And vegetable. You could also just spell veg. No? Like I said, there's a lot of variations, but you're focused on the face, the mouthing, and that's in the periphery, so the variations are less important. No? Whether you get, or it's vegetarian, either way. No? Video. What's that? Exactly, the turning of the video. No? Germ was that, right? So what might this be? Virus. You also get vocabulary. No? Vocabulary with like multiple swipes there. So yeah, quite a few words there with the V, but beyond the letter V, the V shape is used in many, many signs because it represents both the gaze and, not those gays, I mean like the... Oh, I always make my editing so hard, don't I? I'm in the club, so chill. Anyway, right, God, where am I? The gaze and the legs, right? So you get a great many verbs with this sign. All right, so for example, to see, to look, to watch, to observe, simply this. And for this simple sign, you might also just see the index, huh? You can see either. But then, all right, hold on. So we can say, do you like to watch TV? Let's do that. TV you like to watch. The visual element first. So the TV is definitely the visual element of this sentence. It's literally called the television. That's a terrible joke. TV. Good. Do you like to watch TV? So reproducing the gaze in this way, we don't only get verbs like to see, watch, or look, no, or just this, but also words like stare, no? We can show the staring with the gaze, no? And with the face, no? So, you know, a lot of signs, you will include a lot of like adverbial information in there, right? So stuff you would describe with words in English, you will show in sign language how you were stared at. And in the same way, you know, to eye up and down, right? So you would do that, but then your face will add context. Were you being eyed up and down in disdain? Were you being checked out as somebody that's possibly interesting? No? All of that you can show through your body language. More creatively, I like this one, you get supervise. Sorry. So two gazes, this is why I like this, because supervise is above, supervise is like vision, so it's like one gaze above another gaze, and it's the same in, are you having rude thoughts? You know, my like innuendo detector goes off when I'm talking languages sometimes. Yeah, sorry. So, where the hell were we? Supervise, which can also mean like look after or guard. No. What do you think this might mean? Babysit, which is definitely something you don't want to translate literally. Right? Look after baby. No? We also have, all right, the sign for have or must is this, have or must. Again, very important verb, like want, like can, things that we use all the time, have to, must. So you can say, I have to babysit. I have to look after baby. Good. Tomorrow, index finger on the side of the cheek, and it will twist down to palm up. That's tomorrow. Again, quite a useful one. So if you want to say, I have to babysit tomorrow, tomorrow is part of the scene setting, that's a visual element, so you'll say, tomorrow I have to babysit. So how is that? Good. Good. For the day after tomorrow, if instead of the index, you use the V again, the V here, of course, is to rather than V, but we get the day after tomorrow. No? So you can say, day after tomorrow, I have to babysit. So we get a great deal of signs with our representation of the gaze, and there are many more, some of which we don't relate at all to seeing in English. For example, to read, which is something we do with the eyes. No, the word read in English relates to reason and riddle, but in British Sign Language, reading relates to seeing. So this is to read. How do you say you have to read it? You must read it. It, that, whatever. Right, good. And we even get, oh, I love this one too. We get a sign for autism or autism spectrum with the gaze. Why? You got it? Share with us.
Avoidance gazing.
Right.
Avoidance.
Which is amazing because it's like, was that a deaf observation predating autism diagnosis? It looks like it because it's not like a especially politically correct one, is it? So it's like, oh, that's something deaf people observed about a certain type of person that was avoiding eye contact. So that's interesting. You get autism spectrum. So like I say, a few signs that you might not necessarily relate to the sight, like read, like autism. And apart from sight, like I said, the V can also represent legs. So we get to walk, wiggling the legs. If we had a platform, we get to stand. There with the platform, we have the V hands again. You might have noticed, not that it's the V there, but it's the V hands, both of them. That's stand. If we make short downward movements of stand, we get wait. So we might have one or a couple of movements. So you could say, for example, you have to wait over there. What's the word order going to be? Good. There. Good. There must wait. Good. You can also get jump. Very literal stuff, huh? Very literal stuff. Jump, skip or hop. No? Dance. Depending on how you dance, you also might move your head around. Toss and turn. Toss and turn. This has reminded me at school, people used to say, never mind. Is anyone my age? When they say, how do you say F off in sign language? Why don't you? Yeah, that's not a thing, by the way. Toss and turn. If we bend the legs and we get little circles, what might that be? Do you say drunk? Yeah. Drunk or tipsy? Drunk or tipsy? We don't want to judge. Drunk or tipsy? With me is this, with me. What hands are we using there? F hands, right? So that's what makes that memorable. No, with me. You want to dance with me? Do you want to dance with me? One. So the dance, you're more from the wrists moving, and you'll probably do this with your head. Well, it also depends how you want to dance, right? If you're going to dance tango, you might do that, right? But yeah, so you want to dance with me? Good. So the V hand shape, of course, also gives us the number 2. No, we've seen that already in, for example, day after tomorrow. So like this doesn't mean what it means in English. It means both, pair or couple. No? So again, the V there relating to 2, just like in the day after tomorrow. The sign for again also uses 2 movements there of the V. No, again. It also can be used like repeat. It can also mean often. So you can say, do you dance often? Often is part of that scene setting stuff. So you will say, often do you dance. And it also, So this means again, repeat, frequently, often, and you can use it when you don't understand signs, no? So if you're practicing with somebody and you want the sign again, you can just say, again? No? To get the sign back. All right, W, we're getting there, guys, we're getting there. What was W? Good, that was our W. With a couple of W's, we get Wednesday, weeks, wee-wee. if you're talking to a child. We go for a wee-wee. Worth or value, no, short W movement forward down, that's worth or value. Also the sign for wow, which is used a lot like very, is kind of the dominant hand of the W, wow, and you can use that like very as well. That's also, funnily enough, the sign for Brighton in British Sign Language. Brighton is where. So if somebody says, you live where, you can say Brighton or Hove. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. That's the sign for Hove. If we circle the W, we get the United States of America. This is adopted from American Sign Language. American Sign Language is very different to British Sign Language. This is just showing the union of the states. No, it looks like the W, but it has nothing to do with the W. We adopted that from ASL, from American Sign Language. Weekend, you go to make the W, bounce back into the end. Weekend. Law tends to be spelt as a word, generally, law. So now we have the W, we can do that. What's law? L-A-W, good, L-A-W. You can also have your in-laws. Password, P-W. Good. Password PW. Do you know the password? So didn't know was that. What was no? Good. Good. So do you know the password? What's the word order there? Good. How? For how, we get 2 bounces of the W, which can also be inverted, by the way, for how. So it can be like that or like that for how. And as we've seen, things like how old don't use the word how, no. How old, how many, how much. They have their own signs. Even how are you? No, it has its own sign. So we won't use the sign how as much as we use the word how in English, no. But how as a word will be used in things like how did you do it? How did it happen? Happen is this, quite literal, no? Something emerging, happening, no? So how did it happen? We can assume the past is known by the context. Happen how? A sharp movement, that's something happening. Happen, or... good, all right, X. What was X? Good. So just like when you're looking for a word in English that begins with X, you have X-ray or xylophone. We just have X-ray in British Sign Language, X-ray. But we do get some useful abbreviations with X, like for example, TX means tax, TX. And a very creative sign, which is also an abbreviation of sorts, the sign for sex. Here we're actually combining the S and the X. Sexy, huh? That's the S and the X coming together. Super creative as a sign. And unrelated to the letter X, but related to the shape of the cross that the letter X makes, we also get some signs. So for one, we have England and English, which is like St. George's Cross. No? I don't know why we're rubbing it, but that's England or English. The sign for plus, no. Or with 2 taps, we get positive. So we get plus and positive. So again, it's the X hands, but related to the cross rather than the X. We also get multiply or multiplication. Pads are touching, both the pads are touching, and we reverse. So we could say something like, England is expensive. I mentioned before the wow sign. If we take the wow sign out of our wallet, that's expensive. So we can say England is expensive. How's that? So England. And if we want to say really expensive, then we just add extra so we can do more of that and we can puff our cheeks. Good. So we have more signs based off the cross than the letter X now, but the X hands are used in a great many deal of signs that have nothing to do with the X, and that's because X signs are 2 index fingers, of course. We already know that this is one of the 4 hand shapes making up half of BSL signs, and one of the reasons for that is that other than pointing, it can represent people. So 2 indexes often show people interacting in some way. So for example, the sign for meeting, no? The sign people coming in for a meeting, or the sign for meet. No, so here our knuckles come together. So you could say, can we meet tomorrow? Tomorrow can meet would be the word order. So tomorrow, good, very good. Tomorrow, can. Good, can came from here, can. Meet. Yeah. Very similar to meet, but with a change in orientation, we get the sign for thing or something. No. We also get the signs for same or similar. Also to, like as in TOO, also. No, also. For different, we get this. Different. So all of this is with your X hands. Also to try. I like this one. Little bit of friction. Trying. Try. I tried to do it, but I couldn't. So couldn't is just can't. Tried, it's just contextual. No, we're in this context. We imagine we know we're talking about the past. Like I say, if you didn't, you can just do that to show. But generally, you know what you're talking about. So I tried to do it. So one finger still and one finger moving. So this is like the hard place you're trying against. Huh? So I tried to do it. We have a couple of ways of saying do. Good, do. Or what else? With the G hands, we also had to do. Good. So I tried to do it, that one or that one, but used our index finger. How was but? But I couldn't. Good. And if you're confused about what this swirling going on is, just think it starts like a J. Okay, at an angle, but it starts like a J and you just follow through, right? So but I couldn't. Early also uses the X hands, quick, sharp movement. So we've mentioned, with some signs that the style of the movement is important, like happen, sharp movement, quick. We show that in the sign. Quick, sudden, urgent, emergency can mean all of those things. It can also mean early. To ask, we used our alternative O for ask. What was it? Ask. Good. And to answer, again, is our X hands. And we're meeting in the middle of the arc. Both hands move and we meet in the middle of the arc. Good. So a great many signs use 2 indexes, which are our X hands. So, that's the next letter, Y. So we know already that colours are signs, the signs that most vary regionally. No, but one version of yellow we can get just by making the Y. How is Y? Good. You can also say holding the hair, like referencing blonde. That's another sign for yellow. Yellow. We also get year with one Y, and also young, year and young. And if you do it twice, you get years and younger. In this case, one Y gives us year, and then 2 Ys gives us years. 1 Y gives us young, and 2 Ys gives us younger. So you might say, she's younger than me. Than is just a flick forward down. What hand is this? F or N, however you want to think about it. It's both, isn't it? F, N. It's the only one that is both, I think. So, she's younger than me. Good, 2 Y's. Good. I might just... Good. All right, last one. Oh no, before we get to Z, we also get the sign for yogurt. Y. Again, N or F hand, Y, that's a yogurt. All right, so last letter, Z. No? Z. It's like the end, isn't it? Dead end. Z. So we have a flat hand and a bent hand. Again, this bent hand is a hand shape. No, it's its own hand shape that you're going to find in other signs. Zoo is something we spell. No, that'd get very creative if you had to sign it. Can you imagine start doing all the animals? Luckily, we spell that one. So that's Z-O-O, of course. Zebra, Z, and then you can just show the stripes of a zebra. What hand is that? C. Good. Good. For New Zealand, you can say NZ, or you can also say New Z. New Z. To travel, to tour, to wander is this, to travel. Huh? So you can say, they're travelling to New Zealand the day after tomorrow. What bit comes first? In English, what bit comes first? I mean, tell me in English. The day after tomorrow. Right. So the day after tomorrow, how is that? Good. Good. And finish palm up, just like tomorrow. We finish palm up. Good. Day after tomorrow, they're travelling. We assume we know they. Good. So what was travelling? Good. And bent legs. So that's important. There's a difference between straight legs and bent legs. That's 2 things that might get you 2 different signs, right? So day after tomorrow, travelling. Where are they travelling to? Good. New Zealand or New Zealand. Good. To arrive, to get to, also uses our Z hands. No, we have this. No, so it's just like our Z, but with an arrival movement. No. When does she arrive? You don't have to include she, but if you did, you'd probably put it first. So she arrived when? Good. To sell is another useful verb that we get with our Z hands. So that's a flat hand and a bent hand. No. That's to sell. To sell. No. To sell. Did they sell the yellow car? So tell me the word order in English. Forget about the signs for now. Think about reordering the information. Good. And yellow car, we also have to reorder it, don't we? Car yellow. Very good. All right. Let's do it then. Car yellow. That's it. And if you wanted to add the past, that if it's not contextual, you can just do that or you can do that. But usually it's contextual. So car yellow sell. To save up or collect also uses the Z hands. No? Just brushing back a couple of times. Okay, last sentence. If you want the yellow car, you have to save up. All right. So, if you want the yellow car, how does that begin? Before that? If. Good. All right, so if. Let's get if out of the way. How's if? That's my favourite sign for if, but you can also just spell if. If you want the yellow car, car yellow, you have to save up. What was have to or must? Good. Must, you have to save up. Bravo, guys. That was like, well done. You really stuck with me. That was a lot of concentration. We did a lot in I was going to say more or less 90 minutes, and it's 120 minutes minus the 10 minutes at the beginning we were just chatting. So, all right, we've really run over. We might be locked in this building. Like, I don't know what's happening. Thank you so much for helping me test this material. For those of you that don't know, I've worked on this project for around 15 years, just teaching languages for free, because I think it's something that makes people so much happier to be here. I mean, like on planet Earth, alive. And it's something that changed my life a lot as well. So I made this project for that reason. And if you would like to hear more about it, and if you would like to share it, I have languages. I have courses in around 10 languages. Don't make me list them now, but there's some free stuff there you can take, some cards and stickers and bookmarks you can leave around, some other goodies, there's some drawstring bags and badges and stuff like that. Check it out if you're interested in learning any spoken language. There's no British Sign Language material online yet other than these TESTER workshops that I'm uploading. So, you know, I'm building these workshops and I really need feedback from deaf, like native speakers, people that have grown up deaf. I have a lot of stuff I want to get corrections on this. So these are TESTER sessions, so to speak, and when it's all polished, you know, I will make a polished course. But for now, I will be uploading this so you can go through this again. You can follow the project Language Transfer to find out about other workshops that I'll be doing and what's going on. And I never planned this bit of the workshop. Can you tell? And you know, with what we've learned today, you've got like a really large base of signs for the time that we've spent, and you've got enough that you can communicate what you don't know how to sign for because you have the alphabet, no? And the way to think about the signs where just through observation and through practice, you can absorb so much. So I hope it allows you to connect with deaf people. I hope it allows you to connect with a different way of communicating and organising your thought. I hope you had fun. I did. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. So like I said, you can grab some stuff over there. And for anybody also online that might want to support me in this, patreon.com/language transfer if anyone wants to donate. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.